So how about that Diablo 4 Season 3? Am I right? Wow, this has been an absolute disaster, and we've got new responses from the dev team. Also, some really bad news about Activision and Blizzard, and you're probably wondering, well, how's that going to affect Diablo 4 in the future? We'll talk about that. Plus, your top comments from 2 months ago. I really wanted to highlight these because it shows the change in the mood within the community. It's pretty wild. But yeah, also, check this out right here. So yeah, if you don't want to miss out on the best builds for Season 3 of Diablo 4, I highly recommend checking out Mobalytics, the ultimate desktop app for the best Diablo 4 builds. It's an in-game overlay for Diablo 4 that lets you import the absolute best builds crafted by expert players for every single class in the game. Over 10 million players, by the way, use this app to help them tackle the game's most challenging moments. And if you didn't know, Mobalytics now offers an extensive build planner and extensive guides for Diablo 4, which allows me to carefully craft my Season 3 character and easily outline my plan between all the skills, aspects, Paragon board, and more. I can even save my build for later and even share it with the community too. It's extremely impressive and very well done. And yes, the Mobalytics app complies with all of Blizzard's terms, so it's completely safe to use and currently again has over 10 million players using it. So what are you waiting for? Join me right now and download the Mobalytics app for free right now by using my link in the description below and get access to some of the best builds for Diablo 4 Season 3. And a huge thank you, by the way, goes out to Mobalytics for sponsoring this video and for making my Diablo experience so much more fun with their Diablo 4 desktop app. Check it out. All right, so let's find out what's going on with Season 3. We'll get into the dev responses. So first and foremost, we have this one right here. Let's not forget, after release, they were saying Season 3 would be where to judge. I remember them saying this. It says, so angry. And a lot of people are feeling this. So Season 1 and 2 were already in production, and they would listen to ideas, and we could judge them on Season 3. You haven't a clue what you're doing. Clearly, zero communication between teams at any level. We're going back to pedestals and fetch quests from 2 to 4, massive blocks to progress, no experience in the final room of the season contents, focus of the game, intermission room with no loot or XP, big facepalm right there, couldn't agree more, a horse that doesn't work properly, adding more stun locks, anyone tried to click the pedestal in the open world with the fire pulsing out of it or electricity area of effect, why even consider this? Removing killing monsters for some stupid avoid traps minigame, identical dungeons, no more density in dungeons. It's like they worked from a previous build. This is pretty wild because, yeah, it was supposed to go down where they would create a season and that feedback for that season wouldn't make it into the following season. It would make it into the next season. So Season 1 feedback would end up in Season 3. And then Season 2 feedback would end up into Season 4 and so on and so forth. They'll be able to compile the seasons in that manner because they have a dev team that's going back and forth. 2 dev teams, I should say. One working on one season, another working on another. This is not really working out as they had planned, obviously. Now, furthermore, it goes on to say this right here. An absurd grind to level up this useless pet, and you want it to be repeated on alts, removing any replayability. Now, it goes on to say traps everywhere. That's one of the biggest issues. And I really wanted to highlight this bit right here. It says, add a PTR so you can be told things are crap before you release them season after season and have to firefight. So yeah, I totally agree with that. There needs to be some sort of testing area where you can go in and test out what's happening. Even Starfield is doing this now so that Bethesda can get feedback before they release a significant patch or even a minor patch. I think they definitely need to take this direction. But again, there are like major core issues with this season that are like built in that even I don't know if a PTR would even help with addressing these core issues because they're like the fundamentals of the actual season itself. So that in itself is a huge problem. And I gotta say, with the pets, no one is really happy with the pets. They're underwhelming big time. And yeah, they're just kind of like meh. They were supposed to be really the highlight of the season and hold the season up, but clearly that is definitely not the case whatsoever. Let's get into what Blizzard, Activision, and the team had to say about this. First, we have Joe Shelley, who goes on to say this right here. It's cool to see players diving into Diablo 4 Season 3. We can't wait to launch trials later in the season. We're carefully reviewing feedback, especially from folks who have played many hours already, and we've agreed on several things that can be improved. More details soon. Yeah, so I'm assuming there's going to be a campfire here soon enough. That should be one hell of a campfire for sure. I'm going to be sitting on that one most definitely. Now, we also have some feedback and a response here from Adam Fletcher, community manager of Diablo 4. So let's get into the feedback first and foremost from Chevy, who goes on to say this: general thoughts of season 3 so far after 16 hours in. Vaults are not worth the extra loot. The traps in the final fight just make me not want to do them. I just want to slay, not dodge traps. Arcane trimmers are underwhelming, especially compared to Blood Harvest. Pets need a lot of love. Their damage is very low. Utility is okay. I feel like I'm getting 5-to-1 drops for Nightmare Vault Sigils versus Nightmare Dungeon's favorite Nightmare Dungeon option. Win. Health tide changes are amazing. Love the chest. So, hey, at least there's a positive somewhere in here. Extra stash tab. Big fan. Build diversity seems to be doing good. And then overall, I think season 3 as of now is a step backwards from season 2. The overall slower cadence of the mechanics is the opposite way I prefer when playing ARPGs, especially when the loot isn't that much better. I'd rather zoom Nightmare Dungeons. Leaderboards aren't going to save season 3 for me, sadly. And the response here from Adam Fletcher is: appreciate the feedback here. We are noting a lot of this and bringing this to the team today. And again, I just don't get how they would fix this many core issues for this season. Season 4 better not be built around these mechanics, by the way, or they are really, really in trouble. It just doesn't make any sense that they would go after this type of play style, considering the amount of feedback they have received the entire time saying, do not do this. I remember since the beta, people have been saying, don't take this path with Diablo 4. So this completely perplexed me and confuses me and shows me just how out of touch this team is with its fan base currently. Now, let's get back into this. And yeah, mentioning the dev team, someone actually said it. They said the dev team needs to be replaced. Wow. It says nothing personal, just business. If you are given the greatest ARPG title in history, and this is what you do with it, it's time to hang it up. The game needs devs that play their own game and have a deeper understanding of mechanics. Whoa, do you guys think that is going too far? And someone did say at least replace the team that makes odd numbered seasons so far. It seems like it's the odd number seasons that have struggled the absolute most. Whatever the even team is doing, perhaps they should come in and try to work with the odd numbered season dev team and say, hey, this is what we're doing right. This is the path that we should take as a whole, as an entirety, instead of going back and forth with the emotions of the community. One moment they love the game, or at least like what's happening with the game, see some hope in the community, and then they just strip it all away by releasing an odd season. So yeah, that's a big issue. But yeah, on the front of Microsoft and Activision, things are not looking good. And I remember when Microsoft acquired Activision, I knew for a fact that there would be layoffs. It's what usually happens with these acquisitions. And guess what? Today, there were mass layoffs, and the excuse is just absolutely lame. There was another post, I didn't get to save it, but apparently they replaced all of the customer service support for a lot of the Activision games, if not all of them, and they outsourced it. So here is the news right here. It says Microsoft lays off 1,900 Activision, Blizzard, and Xbox employees. Microsoft is laying off 1,900 employees at Activision Blizzard this week. This cut works out to roughly 8% of the overall Microsoft gaming division that stands at around 22,000 employees in total. The Verge has obtained an internal memo from Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer that confirms the layoffs. I'm not even going to entertain that letter. This just irritates the hell out of me because these companies are seeing huge profit margins. At the end of the day, they have the ability to be able to ride out the storm if they need to. Case in point is Nintendo. Check it out right here. Nintendo goes against tech layoffs. They have been notorious, I guess, for not going with the popular demand, I suppose you would say, of what other big tech companies are doing, gaming giants, with these mass layoffs. It seems like if one company does it, other companies go, let me join in. And Nintendo's like, you know what? We're not going to do that. In fact, their founder at one point took a 50% pay cut to ensure that all the employees kept their jobs during a rough period. This stuff is very, very doable. And to see Microsoft do this in my personal opinion, is such BS. But we're seeing this time and time again through the gaming industry. It's like people are on pins and needles wondering, oh man, do I have a job today or not? And I just think it's absurd that people are living like this. Then there's this news right here. Blizzard cancels its secret survival game as president and co-founder leave. That's pretty significant news. And you can say, oh, well, they're veterans. They've been there forever, blah, blah, blah. But the timing of this is just not good. Yeah, so I think emotions are running very, very high within the Diablo 4 community. And then also the dev team as well. I can imagine that they are sweating over there currently, wondering what's going on. Is there going to be even further layoffs? Who knows? So that is the big question mark right now. We're just going to have to wait this out and also wait for the upcoming campfire for Diablo 4. I'm telling you what, that one's going to be, I'm going to grab my popcorn. That should be very, very entertaining to say the least. Now, let's get into your top comments from, 2 months ago. And it's amazing reading through the comments to see that there was a little glimmer of hope here for Diablo 4 within the community. So yeah, let's get into this right now. Yeah, so we have J1 Warrior 84 who says this: I like they are adding more in-game stuff. The bosses you can fight were good, but easy after you get your gear. It's a process, but I'm liking the update. This season has been pretty fun so far. Hope they overhaul the itemization at some point. Happy gaming, you all. It has a whopping 3 upvotes, but it's definitely sitting there as one of the top comments. It seemed like people were kind of hopeful that, hey, it looks like the dev team is kind of listening to us and giving us what we want at some level. And overall, season 2 was well received compared to the first season. And then all of a sudden we have this reverse. And once again, we find Diablo 4 trying to dig itself out of this hole. Now we have more top comments here, or they're not exactly top comments. I just like reading through your guys' comments. It doesn't have to be exactly a top comment, by the way. Now we have 13 in Gash 13, I believe it is, who says this: I've only been able to play 3 or 4 hour sessions 2 to 3 times a week. I've hit 68 so far. I love the boosted experience in overworld events, Tree of Whispers, seasonal content, but the reduced time in Nightmare Dungeons means I feel like I'm leveling faster than I can level glyphs. I'm about to open my 3rd Paragon board and I have 1 glyph level 8 and 1 level 5. If I was trying to switch builds, it would take forever to level up new glyphs. But I think that's kind of the point. It's trying to keep you in the game for as long as possible. That's one thing about these live service games that always makes me apprehensive. If I hear a new game releasing or coming up and I hear, oh, it's live service, I think, well, how are they going to try to keep me in this game? So it's always like they're looking at the time, like, how long have you spent in this game? Probably with the QA testers. How long is it taking you to do this or that? Okay, let's see if we can increase that time. Is it getting boring as we increase the time? A little bit? Okay, let's back it off. So yeah, that's the type of feedback I think that they do in QA sessions for live service games in particular. They just want you in the game so that you're exposed to like the battle pass and stuff like that. Now, we also have this right here. Liquid Snake, who says, this is a great game overall, let's face it. If they just keep listening to the fan feedback and give us enough meaningful content, this game can be a really big deal, especially if the likes of raids, gauntlet runs, new classes, and so on, fingers crossed, this can end up being a huge success. I am wondering if the big turning point for this game, either it becomes a huge uptrend or downtrend in popularity, is going to be that expansion. The expansion is going to be everything to this game. Yes, we're getting these seasons, which I consider like smaller updates right now, which they shouldn't be, but they're the free content drips that are drip feeding us until we get to the big expansion. And if they can address a lot, like a ton of core issues within that expansion, then yes, I think that this game could have a long-term life for sure. If they could just get down like the core issues that people absolutely hate and not revisit them season over season and piss off their fan base, then I think there could be hope for this game, because I saw a glimmer of hope in season 2 and I'm like, something is actually happening over there. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned here for more Diablo 4 news and updates. I have you guys covered. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, smack that like button, and I will see you all next time. Take care.